Hi everyone, we are covering object-oriented programming part in Python. In this video, we are going to talk about different kind of method we have in our Python class. First of all, we will see what is an instance method. After that, we will see what is class method, and at the last, we will see what is a static method in our class. So without doing further delay, let's get into this. As you can see that guys, I am in a PyCharm and let me write here lecture 23. And guys, first of all, before moving to the methods, let's create a class first, and in that class we are going to use all those methods and we will see how we can create them and how we can use them. So first of all, I'm going to create a class and I'm going to give a class name is print name. Alright, so now I have created a class and this class will have a constructor also. So let me define that. And in that constructor, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take two arguments from the user. So let me say here fn, which is means I'm going to take first name from the user, and ln, last name. So alright, now guys, in that constructor I'm going to define my two attribute with the first name and last name. Self dot first name would be equal to fn, which will be passed by the user, and self dot last name is equal to our ln. Alright guys, so we have defined two attribute which will have a value which will pass by the user while creating the object. So now we have created our constructor. Now it's time to see all the methods. First we will see what is an instant method. So guys, I'm going to write here first of all instance method. Alright guys, so guys, for this instant method you have to keep two things in your mind. That first thing is, whenever you are creating an instant method, that method you can call only by an object of that class. You can't call that method by directly by the class name. You have to create first object of that class, then only you can call that method. Now guys, the another thing you have to keep in your mind that this method is going to take an argument which is a self or any argument which you are passing in your constructor. So in my case I have passed self, so I'm going to create an instant method with the self argument. So let's see how we can create, but first of all let me write here can be called by object only. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an instant method. So the name of instant method I'm going to give here display. Alright, and guys, this is automatically took my self argument, and if you pass here any argument other than self, then it's going to take that argument, and you have to pass if it is not taking, because that is only an instant method. Now guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to print here in this method print, and I'm going to use here f string, and I'm going to say here first name is self dot first name, and last name, let me write a name is self dot last name. And now guys, I hope you know that what is f string, because by using a f string we can use a curly braces, and inside of that curly braces we can pass n number of attribute or variable. So we have defined this print statement. Now we have defined this instant method also. So let me write an instant method. So now guys, let's see by calling this. First of all we will call this by directly and we will see what error we get, and after that we will call by an object. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call directly by print name. So first of all I write here my class name and I'm going to call this display method. So if I run this code, you guys can see that I got an error because I can't call this method because this is our instant method, and this method can only be called by object of that class. You can't call them directly. Alright, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to here comment this and I'm going to create an object of this class. So let me cut it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create an object of this print name class. So I'm going to say obj of print name, and guys, you know that this prime name is going to take two arguments because we have defined our constructor that we will take two arguments from the user. So it will take two arguments, and one thing we can do, we can pass these two arguments in this constructor directly. Let's say Aditya and Singh. One way you can do like this also, but I'm not going to do this because I have to show you something also. So I'm going to create a variable. So I'm going to say first name, and it's going to have Aditya, and second last name it's going to have a Singh. So instead of this directly, I'm going to pass this value. So I'm going to say first name and last name, and I will tell you after some time that why I use this thing. So now guys, we have created an object of this print name class, and now we can call this instant method because we have our object obj. So I can call this method by my object obj.display. And now guys, if I run this code, you guys can see that I got output. First name is Aditya and last name is Singh. So I hope now guys you understood that what is an instant method and how we can call them, and we can't call them directly by class name. So we have to create first object, then we can call. So without doing further delay, let's move to our next method, which is our class method. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to comment these things, right? So I'm going to comment. So I'm going to create a class method. So for that, first of all, let's understand what is a class method. So here, let me write a first of all class method. Let me put it up. So class method. Alright, guys. A class method, it is a special type of method in our class which can only be called by a class. So let me write here, can be called by only class. You can't call them by an object, like we have called here obj, and after that we call this method, because this is an instant method, so we can call them by an object. But if this method is going to be a class, then we can't call by them obj, we have to call by using this print name class. So we will see how we can create them and how we can call them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write here a class method. But guys, remember, whenever you are creating a method, class method, then you have to use a decorator. So for that, I'm going to use a decorator, which is class method. You have to use every time this decorator whenever you are going to create a class method. Alright. So now what I'm going to give, I'm going to give a name of class method is define only name. I will tell you why I use this name. And as soon as I put this bracket, you can see that I got a keyword CLS. So this is also going to take a keyword like this in the instant method we have self, and this will have a CLS keyword. You can pass any keyword, but this must have a one keyword which is defining us that this is our class method. Alright, so now we have created this class method. I am not going to write anything here right now. I just write a pass, which means that it's going to be valid. It's not going to give me an error if I don't write any code inside this method. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you why I just use this only name, and after that we will write code in that method. So guys, what I'm going to tell you, see, let me uncomment this and see guys, what we have done, we have created an object, and this object is taking two values, right? First name and last name. So we can pass this two value, first name and last name. But if guys, second way, if user give you just a name, and inside of this name, let's say a Kapil, and see, user give you this whole name, now you have to create a class and you have to print like this, first name is Kapil and last name is Singh. So you have to create like this. So how you can do that, guys? But if you are creating an object of this class, then you have to pass two value, right? So what you can do, you can first of all do split here, and after that what you can do, you can pass that value by splitting first name and last name. But guys, we are going to do this thing by using a class method, and we will see how we can pass also this value to our constructor, and we can create an object of this print name. So I'm going to create a function which I created only name. I created a method only name, and this method is a class method, which means we can call this method by class only. So what I will do, I will say here that my new obj, obj2, is print name, which my class name, and I'm going to call that method only name, and here I can pass my name. So as soon as I have done this thing, so it means that this only name is going to take one value, and that value, let me write a name, so it's going to take this value. So we have done, we have called this method. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to split here. I'm going to say a comma b, or we can say first name comma last name is going to be name dot split by a space. So if name is Kapil Singh, so what I can do is that I can say that now Kapil Singh is distributed in first name and last name. First name is going to have a Kapil and last name is going to have a Singh. So I hope now you understood that what I have done in this line. We have divided our name in first name as last name, right? So now we have done this thing. Now what I can do, I have two value. Now I can call this constructor because it's need two argument, right? So what I'm going to do, I can call this constructor. But how can I call that? Remember, we have used a class CLS, right? We have used a CLS keyword. So this CLS keyword is helping us to use any of the method, any of the constructor, right? We can call that constructor also by using CLS. So I will say CLS, and as you know that this is a constructor, so we don't need to write here anything. So we can just write here a bracket, and inside of that bracket I can pass my value first name and last name. So we have created object of this prime name, right? We have passed this constructor. But guys, as you know that whenever we are going to create an object like here, so we are storing in our variable, right, in obj. So similarly, we have created an object of this class with the first name and last name, and I'm going to store in our variable. So I can say that obj, and I can return that obj, right? Return obj. But no, I'm not going to do this much thing. I will directly return this thing. So I will say comment this thing and directly return this object. So we have created an object, and after that we are returning that, and this will store in our obj2. So finally somehow we have created an object which is going to be have Kapil as a first name and Singh as a last name. And how we have done that? By using a class method, because we can call this method without creating an object. So we have called this method by using a class name, and after that we have split that Kapil and Singh in different variable, and then we have passed this value to this constructor, and this constructor has created an object, and after that we have written that object, and that will store in our obj2. So now we can call this method obj2 display. So if I run this code now, guys, you guys can see that I got output first name is Kapil and last name is Singh. So we have created an object of this with name also by using a class method, and we have done an object also by using a different argument. Means if constructor needs 2 argument, then we can pass directly also, but if you are modifying something, and you can do modify by using class method. So this is basically use of class method, and how you can create them we have already seen this thing. So I hope now you understood that what is a class method, what is an instant method. Class method need a decorator to initialize. First of all, you have to define a class method at the rate, and after that you can write your class method, and at the end you can call this class method by using a class only. You can call that method by using an object. Now guys, at last we will see a static method. So let's move to that part. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to comment all these things, right? And let's write here first of all static method. Alright guys, so static method is similar to class method somehow. First of all, we have to write a decorator, and we have to use at the rate static method, as like we have done in class method, at the rate class method. And guys, what is the specialty of this static method? It tells us the behavior of our class. We can call this method by an object as well as by a class. So let us see with an example, and you will get a better idea at last. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a static method, and I have told you that we can create a static method by a decorator at the rate static method. So we have written first of all this decorator. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a static method. So I'm going to give here name static method. So we have created this static method. Now guys, what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you that you don't need to pass here any value. Like in instant method you have passed one keyword self, and in class method you have passed one keyword CLS, right? But this static method does not take any argument. You don't have to pass single argument here, but the argument which need to be used in this method you can pass. But for like this self or CLS, you don't need to specify any single keyword. You have passed n number of argument but not any keyword. All right, so this is not going to take any keyword. It will take only the argument which you have to use in our function. So here I'm going to pass any argument I can pass. Let's say a name. So I have passed this argument, and after that what I'm going to do, I'm going to print here something. Name is, here I'm going to pass name. So I created a static method which can be called by an object as well as by a class, and it not take any single keyword. Like in class method we have CLS, and in instant method we have self. So that is the specialty of static method, and we can use it let's say with a class name. I'm going to say print name, which is my class name, and now I'm going to call this method static method. So if I just pass a name, let's say Aditya Singh, and if I run this code now, you guys can see that name is Aditya Singh. So it successfully run, right? We have called this method. Now if I just call this by an object, so let me create an object 3, and here I'm going to say print name, and inside of that object I'm going to pass 2 value, right? So let me pass here Aditya. This time I'm going to pass it directly Singh. Alright. So now guys, what I can do, I can call this method object 3 dot static method, and here let me pass a value because it's need a value, right? It need a value. So I'm going to pass here value, let's say Aditya Singh. Let me take another value, let's say Kapil Singh, right? So now let me comment this thing, and I'm going to run this code. You guys can see that it successfully run with the object as well. We can call by object and by class name. So we have seen what is in static method, what is in instant method, what is in class method. And guys, if you have any doubt in related to these 3 methods, you can write in the comment section. I will always there to help you. And if you like this video, give a thumbs up to this video and subscribe my channel. Meet you in the next video. Thank you.